Okay, so we're going back to the volume 1 book. We're going back to chapter 1 because it introduced fractions and decimals at the beginning of chapter 1, but then we don't get to fractions and decimals till chapter 6 and chapter 8. So I decided to save this lesson till right before we do fractions and decimals, okay? So this should be a review, but with fractions and decimals, why do you think it's important to learn them at the same time or talk about them at the same time? Elise?
Because you can turn a fraction into a decimal.
Yeah, every fraction could also be written as a decimal. Every decimal could also be written as a fraction. So what we're going to do today, we're going to model these. We're going to write them as a fraction, as a decimal, and write them in words. So we're going to do more than the directions actually tell us to do. So we're on page 24. Let's do this, talk about it. Okay, so it tells us the model on the, darn it. Did it go to the next page? Or did it go backwards a page? Okay, let me get back to page 24. Okay, the model at the right shows a thousands cube. What does it mean if it's a thousands cube? Elise? Yeah, it means there's 1,000 little cubes to make up that big cube. Okay, it says what fraction of the model is shaded? How many cubes are shaded? Ava? Look at your book. It might be easier to see in your book. There are 4 shaded. Why would some people say 5? 5 is a common wrong answer. Jackson?
Because there's one little...
Because the one on the top, when you stack blocks, that's something you guys have probably all done before. That one right there, you can see 2 sides of the same block. So do you think we count it twice or just count it once? You just count it once. So on this line, we're going to write lots of stuff. Out here to the side, right there are 4 out of 1,000. Out to the side. We're going to write more on the line in just a second. Because there are 4 out of 1,000 cubes shaded. Do you guys all agree with that? How could I write 4 out of 1,000 as a fraction? Fisher?
4/1000.
Yeah, 4 over 1,000. 4 over 1,000. And Fisher said it properly. How did you say it, Fisher? Okay, you almost said it properly. He said 4 1,000ths. That's actually incorrect, but it's super close. Gabe?
4 over 1,000.
No. Augie?
4 and...
Aiden?
4 out of 4.
Nope, we're just trying to say this fraction properly. Jackson?
Over?
Nope. Lexi? Just 4,000ths. We don't say 1,000ths. That's just kind of understood that it's a 1. So let's go ahead and write equals. We're going to write it out in words. 4,000ths. Remember that THS tells us what? What does that THS tell me, Carter? It is a decimal number. Now, the reason I want you to learn how to say them properly is because now that helps me write the decimal version. Who thinks they know how I write 4,000ths as a decimal? Addie?
0.004.
Yeah, 0.004. Because I need a 4 in the thousandths place and everything else is a 0. Okay, so we've kind of talked about bits and pieces of this, but we've never had to do it all together in one problem. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number 2 says, shade the model to show 80 hundredths. pull out your highlighter. When we shade, we'll shade in highlighter. It just makes it a little bit easier. What is the easiest way to shade 80 hundredths, Bryson? 8 rows of 10, because we know each row is 10. So we just count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to kind of shade up. Okay, so I need to shade in all of those. So I have 2 rows left unshaded. I'm going to get a bigger one. And then you don't have to be perfect, just shade in. Then it says write the fraction in word form and as a decimal. So how do I, to do word form, if you can say it properly, that gives you word form. So Gabe, how do I say that fraction properly?
80
Good job, 80 hundredths. So let's write that out in words. Ooh, not that big words. Change my pen back to the skinny pen. 80 hundredths and decimal form. What does 80 hundredths look like as a decimal? Fisher?
0.08.
Okay, I'm going to write that. Don't write it because that is incorrect. But there is an 8 in the what? Hundredths. So that is 8 hundredths. We want 80 hundredths. Gabe?
0.80.
0.80 is 8 hundredths. Now, what's up there that we don't necessarily need? In this one, we need it because they wanted 80 hundredths. But Bryson, what could I do to that number? If I took away the 0, and I want you to just kind of write this up here out of the way. We'll just write it up here, 0.8. Bryson is telling us that has the same value. Do you guys agree? How do I say that number? Hutley?
8.
We would say 8 tenths. How would I model 8 tenths on my picture? Elise? Yeah, but it's just instead of all those little boxes, they would just be big kind of long bars. I would do 8 rows of 10, 8 tenths. If I split this box into 10 equal parts instead of 100 equal parts, that would be in tenths, and I would shade in 8 of them. So it would look exactly the same. Questions on that one? Okay, let's go to the next one. Explain why that number is written as a decimal with a 4 in the tenths place and a 5 in the hundredths place. It's kind of hard to explain. Let's talk about what would the decimal be? What would the decimal be? Addie J?
0.45.
Okay, 0.45. Let's talk money for a second. If you had that much money, what coins would you probably have? Fisher?
A quarter 2 times. A quarter 2 times.
Okay, let's just split it. What are our place values here that are shown? Go ahead, Fisher. Our tenths and hundredths. Think of our coins that we can think of when we're doing tenths and hundredths. Aubrey, what coins am I thinking of to do tenths and hundredths? What money is a tenth of a dollar and 1/100th of a dollar? Aiden, help her out. A dime is 10 cents or a tenth of a dollar. What's 1/100th of a dollar? a penny. So this would be how many dimes and how many pennies? Carter? 4 dimes and 5 pennies, because the 4 equals what? What does that digit represent? For what? Elise? Well, going away from money now. Money's just to help you think about it. Addie? 4/10 plus 5 what? Hundredths. Okay, because the 4 is in the tenths place because it represents 4/10, but they also have 5 hundredths attached to it. That one's kind of a weird question. Okay, let's go on to the next page. Okay, at the top, we're going to change the rules a little bit. This tells us to shade the model. Underline shade the model. We're going to shade the model. We already have the fraction. Underline word form. What else do you think I'm going to make you do, Lainey? And decimal form. So I want you to write and decimal form. And then next to each fraction, just put equals. And we'll write the decimal right next to the fraction. We'll shade the model, and we'll put the words on the line. So the first one, who thinks they can say it properly? Elia, can you say that fraction properly? Because that'll give us our word form.
700.
We'll look at the bottom number. What's the bottom number right here? So it's 7/10. So right here, let's write 7/10. Okay, and I don't care which one you start with. I just think it's easier to say it, and that helps us write it as a decimal. How do I write 7/10 as a decimal, Lainey?
0.7.
Okay, because I need my last digit has to be in what place? The tenths place. So 0 point, the first place is the tenths place. So I need a 7 in the tenths place. Who can go over my decimal place values? Because do you have to know that to be able to do this? Okay, the first place is called what, Addie B? The tenths place. The second one, Fisher? Hundredths. And Lexi, the third one? Thousandths. Okay, so we have been working on that to prepare us for this. Now, how do I model this? Elise?
You shaded 7.
I shade in 7 of the 10 bars, yes. I shade in 7, so I will have 3 left out. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to spend all day shading. I suggest outline it and then just shade it in real quick. Okay, let's go to the second one. Wyatt, can you say that fraction properly? 9/10. So if we can say it properly, then we can write it in words. 9/10. Emma Kay, what does that look like as a decimal? 0.9, because we need a 9 in the tenths place. Clara, how do I model that? How do I shade that? Yeah, 9 out of 10 of them should be shaded. So we can use those words too. That's why I want you to think about when I give you a score on your papers, if you get a 13 over 15, what does that mean? That means you got 13 out of 15 possible points. So 9 out of 10 means, or 9/10 means 9 out of 10 of them are what we're focusing on. Let's go down and do number 7. This is the one that tends to get people. Who can say that properly? I'm just going to write down here. You guys have lines. I'm not going to move it up. Braylon, can you say that?
500.
Okay, 500ths. I'm going to write mine out to the side because I think it'll let me. 500ths. Now, this decimal is the most commonly type of missed decimal. That means we need a 5 where?
No.
Bryson? In the hundredths place. Where is the hundredths place, lady? Yeah, so it's the second one. So we have 0 point blank. I'm going to put 2 blanks because I know I need 5 hundredths. But the 5 has to go in which of those spots, Augie? Yeah, it has to go in the hundredths place. So what do you think I put in the tenths place so I don't change its value, Addie J? A 0. Good job. Now, thinking of my out of, I need 5 out of 100 of these cubes shaded. Is that 5 whole rows? No, so you're just shading 5 individual little boxes. So it's really half of 1 row. I want you to take a second and try and complete the other 3 at the top of this paper. Try and complete the other 3 at the top of this paper. I'm going to turn on the answers. The only one they will be missing is decimals, so we're going to talk about those. So check the ones after you get them finished. After you get them done, look up and check them. And we're going to add the decimals to them in just a second. Now that number 3 on the other page can help you figure out how to shade number 8 and number 9, because 63 hundredths is 6 tenths, which means 6 full rows, and then 3 extra, like 3 hundredths, 3 of the extra little boxes. Who can give me the decimal for number 6? Because we didn't do number 6, correct? Together? Okay, the decimal for number 6. Aiden, what's the decimal for number 6?
0.4.
0.4, good job. Kinley, number 8. 0.63, because it has to say 63 hundredths, so we can only have 2 decimal places. Jackson, number 9.
0.21.
0.21, good job. Okay, let's look at the bottom. How is the bottom just a little bit different? Braylon, what's different about the bottom?
Because they're shaded in and we have to find what they are.
Yeah, and we're still going to do everything. On all of the problems, we're going to do model, fraction, decimal, word. Because if we can do one, we should be able to do them all. So, Emma Kay, tell me, what do you see there? Let's use the words out of. She sees that 2 out of 10 are shaded. Gabe, how can I write 2 out of 10 as a fraction? 2. Okay, I'm going to write this up here because we don't have a ton of room. 2 over 10. He said it properly. So when you're writing the fraction, you're probably going to say it. He said 2 tenths. What else am I wanting here? Elise?
The decimal.
Okay, how do I say 2 tenths as a decimal? 0.2, good job. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Number 11. Lexi, using the words out of, what do you see? 8 out of 10 are shaded. What is that as a fraction? Yeah, 8 over 10. Wyatt, how do you say that fraction properly? 8 tenths. So that's how we would say both of these in words. So whether you're writing it as a fraction or a decimal, it's said the same way. That's why I'm trying to get you to learn to say them properly. Carter, what am I missing? The decimal. What is the decimal for this? 0.8. Good job. I'm just going to write it in here. Let's actually go down. Let's go down to 13. Why is this one going to be a little bit harder to count, Hutley?
Because it's not tens.
Yeah, it's hundreds. So we have to figure out how many are shaded out of 100, Elia.
15 out of 100.
Yeah, and what can we do to make our life a little bit easier when we're counting these? Elise?
We can count by race.
Yeah, if the whole column is filled in, we can count by tens. So we have 10 and then 7 more. So Elia said 17 out of 100. Ava, how do I write that as a fraction? Yeah, 17 over 100. Who can say it properly? Emma Kay, can you say that properly?
17.
Yeah, 17 hundredths. Aubrey E., can you give me the decimal? 0.17. Go ahead and turn the page. Let's actually go to page 31. Go to page 31. What's on page 31?
Everything.
Is it the same thing we've been doing? Yeah. We weren't supposed to learn decimals in the last section. It's the exact same thing. Okay, let's look at number 4. I want you to try number 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 on your own. 4, 5, 6, and 7. On these ones, it gives us the fraction, and we have to find all of the other things. Okay, a lot of you are getting done, so check. I'm going to talk about number 7 and some common errors and what they actually mean. And I think my voice is about done, so I'm going to give you your homework. So check once you get those 4 done, check them. What's one thing that made number 7 a little bit tricky? Bryson? Okay, yep, there are 1,000 instead of 100. So this means 51 out of 1,000 need to be shaded. Here is a common wrong shading. They would shade all of this also. Why is that not correct? Lainey?
Because those aren't all connected. Those are separate blocks.
Those are separate blocks. So if I had each column, like each chunk, like if I chunked off just that piece all the way back, how many blocks is that? Aiden?
19.
No. Carter? 100. Because I'm showing like all of these are colored all the way back. So that's each section is 100, because what's 100 times 10? 1,000, and I need 1,000 blocks. So this would be like 100, 200, 300, 400, 510. That would be 510 thousandths. But that's really the only error I tend to see on these. So thumbs up, thumbs down. Think we got it? Okay, your homework's going to be weird because it's kind of split between two sections. So I'm going to tell you to go to 4 different pages and mark some problems off. And then on the homework board, I'm just going to give those pages for homework. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to start where we're at. So let's go to page, go to the 33 and 34. So go to page 33 first. Nope. Oh, I went to page 333. Try that again. On page 33, what do the directions tell us to do? Okay, so we will shade. We have a fraction. We're going to do the decimal and the word. Okay, so that is correct. We're not marking anything off of that page, so just circle 33. Then turn over to 34. At the top, write each fraction as a decimal. So it's just asking for the decimal. Is it asking for anything else? No. So that when you're just doing decimals, you can mark off number 11. Number 12, it gives us words, and you have to write it as a decimal and a fraction. Underline that. Okay, scrolling down. I do want you to try 13 and 14. So really we just marked off number 11 on this page. Then go back to page 29, I believe. Someone go there and tell me if that's the... Is, okay, so go to page 27. Just because each one doesn't give us much practice. On this one, it says shade the model, show the fraction in word form. What else do you think I want, Hully? The decimal. So just add in the words and decimal. Okay, and you're doing those 4 problems on page 27. And again, I'll write this all up. I'll write the page numbers down for you. And then turn the page. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, on this one, add and words up at the top. So write the decimal for each model and word form. And then you can mark off number 9, number 10, and I want you to try 11. And it sounds like a lot, but it's less than 15 problems on all 4 of those pages. Okay? So, and you have about 7 minutes to get started, so go ahead and get started. So our homework was on page 27, 28, and then was it 31 and 32? Yeah. 31 and 32. Hold on. What pages was it?
Yeah, it was 30.
Oh, 33 and 34. Sorry. And you can use your highlighter to shade. That'll make it go a little bit quicker. Got it all?